Hey there, fellow marketers, Professor Wolters here, and today we're going to go over the basics of making a budget. I've been a college professor for about 20 years now. I know it's crazy when I say it out loud. And over the years, I've seen some consistent issues that my students have had when they've come out of college. And one of those things is they try to keep up the financial situation they lived in while they live with mom and dad and in college when they get their first job. And what you have to realize is mom and dad have been working for 20, 30, 40 years. They've been saving and getting promoted and moving up, and you're in the entry-level position. So there might be like a whole zero difference at the end of your paycheck versus your parents. And the thing is if you've been going to college or you've been living at home, you don't always realize all the things that you're going to be spending money on because, the insurance is paid for by your parents' work, or mom and dad paid your car insurance. And there's all these little bills that you don't think about. And so what we want to really do is figure out how we create a budget. Your budget's going to be different for different situations you have in life, of course, but the basics, the fundamentals of setting a budget are pretty much the same because your budget lets you know where's my money coming from and where's my money going. And also it helps you determine where should my money be going? Because where your money's actually going and where it should go might be two different places, okay? And I know for us, we travel all the time and people always ask us, how do you afford to travel so much? Well, we set our family budget geared towards traveling. We don't have cable TV. Do you notice I wear Wolters World gear in all these videos and I'm wearing the same clothes? If you look at me in videos from, now versus 5 years ago, I'm not spending on clothes. Obviously, I'm not spending on the gym either. And so that influences our spending. And it influences our budget. And it's the same for anybody. But before I can prioritize putting money into travel, I need to know where I've got to spend my money first, okay? And so when you first start setting out your budget, lay out all the things you're going to have to be paying, okay? And this video is more set up for my students that are either, they're moving out for the first time after high school to be on their own or after college out on their own, because I've seen so many of my friends and so many of my students over the 20 years I've been teaching. Oh my God, it's been 20 years. 20 years of teaching, I've seen this problem happen quite often where students come out and they're overspending. They're living beyond their means and they don't even realize it until you've got $100,000 in debt and you're like, what the hell just happened? And so when we first start out, we really need to start with listing all the places where our money is going to be going to. What are all the bills we do have? Okay, so you're looking at my food bill. Well, there's your food at the supermarket. There's the food that you pick up last minute at CVS or Walgreens or something for a snack. There's the grocery bill. There's your restaurant bill. There's your late night pizza that comes in there. And sometimes people don't realize that, that $4 latte you do every single day, well, a $4 latte times 300 days out of the year, that's $1,200. That's a flight to Europe, people. Dang, and that's flight to Europe at high season. Maybe I do need to make some changes. And that's why what I say is track for just 1 month. Track your spending. Every dime you spend, whether it's your credit cards, your debit cards, cash, whatever, what all is going out. And you're listing where all that money is. Get an Excel, get that spreadsheet out there, and also look at your rent you're paying. Look at the insurance you have. Look, you need to have renter's insurance if you're renting or homeowner's insurance. If you're buying a home, you need that. That goes into there. Also, you got to think about your clothes you're going to buy. Well, I don't buy clothes. My mom gets it for me. Well, guess what? When you're living on your own, your mama ain't buying you clothes no more, all right? You've got to get it. So that's something you need to think about as well. Also, maybe you have a car, your car payment, your insurance for your car. Maybe, you should be, saving for your retirement planning. Maybe you want to have a savings nest egg. So you want to buy a house one day or to buy that next car you want to get. And then there's all the normal bills like your electricity, your cable, your internet, your phone, water, like electricity, everything. It starts adding up and you realize, wow, it was easy in college. I just wrote one check for the dorm and my food was paid for. Everything was included. Yeah, and so that's why it's really important you really list everything. And if you do it for a month, then a rent payment gets in there, a car payment gets in there, like incidentals that happen. You might say, well, my car doesn't blow a tire every month. Yeah, but you know what? Some problem happens every month or every 2 months. So that month-long tracking of your outgoings, also your ingoings, will give you an idea of how much it really costs to live as you for a month. And when you get those numbers out there, what you need to do is be honest with yourself and list what is a need, like something I have to have, and what is a want. Because the needs, I have to eat and I have to have a place to stay, but I want that new TV. I want that new video game system. I want to travel, right? And so you start to look at it and say, okay, our needs, is there something, are we paying for everything that's needed, right? And what's important about knowing if something's a need or a want is it helps you decide what are things you could cut. Because they have this thing called the 60% rule. Basically, all your bills, does that take up maximum 60% of your income? Because if you're going over that 60%, in general, you're probably overspending. Now, I realize a lot of times it can depend on where you live, because living in California, in LA versus living in Illinois or here in Georgia, like the cost of living is a lot different. So that 60 can vary a bit, but in general, you want to try to keep your spending at 60% or below, because then you have money to save up. You have money to go do those trips, to do that extra stuff, right? But the thing is, if you're going over that, you're not going to have enough cash. So you can look at it in terms of, what am I overspending on? That's where you go to those wants. Do I have to get that one? Do I have to get that new Nintendo or PlayStation or Xbox? Do I have to go on that extra trip? Do I have to do these things? And it helps you know what you can cut. And sometimes your needs, you might look at your needs like, wow, my rent is really taking up a lot of my income. And do I need to have that nice of a place? Could I go, instead of having the condo with all marble, do I go with the one that has all, butcher block tops? I mean, you have to think about these things and make honest decisions, because you don't want to put yourself in debt where you're using a credit card to pay everything off. And then you end up with $30,000 of credit card debt to go along with $100,000 of student loan debt. Because that's another thing. All those debts you have to think about paying those off as well. That's going to go into your outgoings, okay? So when you have all the outgoings put down, you track it for a month, all those bills are in, you got a good idea of what's going out. You also want to look at everything that comes in. So your job, maybe you have some stock portfolios, so you get some, interest payments. Maybe grandma gives me $100 every time I see her. So I go see grandma 3 times a year. So I know that's $300 that could come in, right? And so you can plan those things in there, because I know things are going to be coming in. For example, I will teach an extra class every summer, because I know if I teach an extra class, I get a little extra pay for that extra class. And so I can factor that in to my spending. So that's where my travel budget comes in for the family trip, is from that extra class. And so we kind of do these things to understand where the money's coming in, so I can figure out where I can spend it. And that's the thing, is you really need to keep track of all the incoming, all the outgoing, all these kind of things, so you can make a better decision of where your money should be going. Because believe me, you don't want to have $20,000 of credit card debt at a 20% interest rate on your credit card. That is just burning through money. You're like throwing away $400 a month or something like that. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure you're managing things. And the thing is, when you're making a budget and you're adjusting your budget, sometimes it's not something you can do overnight. If you see that, I'm spending way too much money for my apartment, or I'm spending way too much money on entertainment, sometimes just making little cutbacks. You know what? I don't need the super duper package for the cable. Maybe I just need the basic cable. For us, we cut cable. Said, look, that $250 a month for cable, let's just cut cable and just have internet for $70 a month. And then we can have that extra, like basically $200, we can save it for traveling, because that's $2,400 a year I'm saving. Little things like that. Also, maybe when it's time for you to get a new lease for an apartment, it helps you decide that, what? Maybe I don't have to be, on the Gold Coast. Maybe I can be a little bit farther out and save some money. It can help you make better decisions. And that's why it's really important to track things, because you'll be surprised when you're like, where'd my money go? Like, look on your credit card statement. Are you like, how did I spend all that money I didn't buy any tickets to Europe this month. Why do I have $3,000 in bills? What's going on? And you start to see that pizza, those drinks, that, laser tag thing you do with your buddies. It all starts adding up, and it helps you go, wait, I need to have a good handle on my budget. So maybe sometimes you do have to say no. When you change from going out, think about it. If you're a college student, when you first went to college, you're like, I want to go out every night. By the time you're a senior, you're like, I go out Thursdays because that's drink specials. Friday we go out, and Saturday I usually hang with my buddies at home so we can save some cash. Same thing can work when you're out there in the real world. It's like, you know what? I'm not going to go have beers with my buddies on Thursday night football nights. I'll save it up and we'll drink on Saturday night for the college football game instead. And you make decisions like that to adjust your budget. Okay, so I hope this helps you kind of get a handle on where you start when it comes to making a budget, tracking everything going out and everything coming in, and then making the right decisions to balance it out, okay? And that 60% rule is a really helpful rule to give you an idea of where you should be spending. If you're not anywhere near that, if you're like, well, I'm spending 99% of my money, or I'm only spending 5% of my money, there are things you can do to kind of, adjust different ways. And that's why sometimes it is, when I finish school, maybe I do live at home for a year, or instead of living on my own, I do get roommates again to split costs. Because look, being in too much debt when you come out of school and you're going out in the world can really hamper your choices later on. So that's why I think it's really important to understand how to make a budget, how to get that budget figured out, so you know when you can splurge and when you need to say, you know what, I'll go out with you next week. So I hope this helps you know a bit more about budgeting. It's a very simple thing for a personal budget, but I think it's a good place to start, especially if you're just starting out on your own. So good luck, and I'll see you next time.